Hello and good morning, good afternoon and a very good evening to you, the good and wonderful people of the tube. Hope you're well today, hope you're feeling grand and always going well. Welcome to the Q&A Wednesday, everybody. I certainly hope everybody who tuned into the live stream enjoyed it the other night. I certainly did, it was great fun. And we will do another one very soon, I'm sure. Probably next month now, but we will get to it. I'm not going to say I'm going to do one every month because I might not be able to, but I would like to do one every month. It'd be really cool. Anyway, Q&A Wednesday, everybody. Let's get to question one today. And I need my guitar for this one and my amp. And we're going through this orange today. Out of the 3 we have, that's Friday's video. I'm not just going to demo the LDX. We're going to do a comparison between all 3. Anyway, that'll be Friday. Okay, anyway, question one today, everybody, of Q&A. Is how do you use your Electro Harmonix double muff fuzz pedal, and can you show how to get a Jimi Hendrix tone from it? Okay, so the key I find to using the double muff pedal, which is my favourite fuzz pedal, it's more of a fuzz overdrive. It's got the fuzzy kind of side of it, but it's also got this kind of like really warm, smooth overdrive kind of thing. The key I find for using the double muff is to run it with a distortion. Like an already distorted signal. So, for instance, I've got at this point in time, sadly you can't see, but at this point in time, I have the Marshall Governor on. Okay, so that's just the Marshall Governor on its own, going through this little orange. It's not mic'd up. What you're hearing is just the room sound, everybody. That mic is there for the intro jam, but that's not actually the SM57 is not doing anything. You're just room sound at this point in time. So that's the kind of core of the tone, if you will. So that's the Marshall Governor. So, you know, fairly distorted. My fingers jumbled themselves a bit. Anyway, so that's just the Marshall Governor on its own. And then what I do is I run the double muff over top of that. So if I engage the double muff now. So, and I've got the double muff set with, number 1 is set at 9 o'clock, so as you're looking at it that way. And then number 2 is set straight up at 12 o'clock. So number 1 is that way, and number 2 is straight up. And I've got it set to both sides, because on the double muff you can select 1 or both, and I always have both. And then what I do is, because both pedals are on, it now gives me the ability to control everything from my guitar. So, because I've already got that distorted signal from the governor, the double muff, the double muff on its own sounds like this. It's quite quiet, thin, weedy, not very much going on. But if I combine it with the governor, it sounds immense. Cool feature of a double muff is when you're using it with a distortion, you can control everything from your guitar. So if I just roll the guitar in to 3, so this is volume on 3, I get a really nice clean tone. Clean tone, and then if I bump up the volume a bit more, I get overdrive to about 6. You know, besides getting realms of overdrive, kind of classic rock around 6 and 7. 8 is kind of like a really nice kind of rhythm rock tone. 9's even bigger. And then going all the way up to 10, you get full out fuzz. So, just by controlling your volume, you can go from sounds very Jimmy. I can't play any Jimi Hendrix stuff, which is about right. But it does have that kind of Jimi Hendrix kind of thing. You know, it's got that kind of thing going for it. So that's how I use my double muff. I never run it on its own. I always run it with a distortion. And you do get a little bit of amp hiss. If you listen, that's off, and then this. But it's not a lot. And I'll tell you what, when you're in if you're playing live in a noisy bar, you can't hear that hiss at all. You can only ever hear it when you're kind of like, you know, in a quiet room. So that's how I run it, and also where I run it as well. I think it's got something to do with it, because the signal chain for this at this point in time is Orange, Marshall, Governor, and then the double muff. So that's where I run it. I always run it like on the what is it? It's the input side of the Governor. I never run it on the output side. I always run it on the input side. It works better that way. Having the distortion. Having a fuzz feed into the distortion works better, I find, and it just sounds really, really cool. So yeah, that's how I use my double muff. I hope that answers the question okay. So yeah, and it's just an awesome pedal. I just love that sound, and it does have that Jimi Hendrix thing, and yeah, it just works. It just works. I've got a version somewhere on my YouTube channel of me doing Voodoo Child live. And the double muff is the main. The double muff and the governor are the main pedals you hear in that video. That's the main two pedals that I was using for that version. So yeah. I hope that's answered your question. Going to move on to question 2 now. Okie dokie. So question 2 today, everybody, is how often should I change the valves in my JCM 900? Just when needed. I mean, it's advised that you get your valve amp serviced every year, and I'd really recommend this because when I had my small box, getting it serviced for, I think I had it like 3 years. I used to get mine serviced every year, and every time it went for a service, you found out what was kind of like, what was going with it. You can also get a valve tester as well, or take it to a 10 and get your valves tested. But it's really advisable you get your valve amps serviced because they can be dangerous. I mean, people do say, "Oh, I've never had any problems with mine," and they're not dangerous. They really are dangerous. Or anything to do with electricity is dangerous. And you don't want a valve amp carries a lot of oomph, and you don't want that. When it goes wrong, you don't want that when it goes wrong. It's not fun. There's some horrific stories about that kind of thing. But when you want to get your valves replaced, you kind of want to take it to an amp tech and get the valves tested, and just to see, because if you get them tested, you can see which ones are weak. Because the 900 it's got a solid state something or another, hasn't it? I think the 900's got 4 power valves, but I don't think has it got preamps. It's missing one. I swear it's missing one. I don't know, I could be totally wrong about it. I'm not very up on valve amps. But the 900 is one of my favourite amps. But there's something about a 900, I don't know. But what I would do is I would get the amp serviced and get the valves checked by a tech who can analyse the valve, see which one's weak, and if one of them is weak, if one of them is weak, it might be time to get them changed. You can play through your amp until one of the valves goes, but it's not a good idea. I would always personally, but again, I'm not a valve guy, but I would always personally recommend as soon as you kind of like get the valves tested and you find one of them's weak, it might be time to kind of think about getting them changed to new ones. Just because if one's weak and one goes, it could take the rest with them, or at least take one that's on the stack with it, and it can cause all sorts of problems. My small box, my small box plexi blew one of its power tubes, one of the bigger the EL34s. It blew one of the EL34s, and it took preamp V1 with it, the V1 preamp, position 1. It took that, and it took the mains fuse with it as well, and it nearly took the not the power transformer, the smaller one. I don't know what that does, but it when the valve blew, the amp went a bit haywire, so to say. So what I would recommend you do is take your 900 to like an amp tech if you can, if there's one around near you or something like that, and get your valves tested to find out if any of them are weak, any of them, which ones are okay, which ones are not. And if one of them's weak, I'd maybe recommend getting like a full revalve. I mean, this is just my opinion, because that's what I would do if it was mine. If I had a JCM 900 and I took it to an amp tech and he said, this valve's weak, and this one's not far off being weak, and this one's not great, I would just be like, right, let's get it revalved and rebiased. I think you've got to rebias the 900, even though it does have some solid state stuff in the 900. I think you've got to rebias it, and the bias is mega important. Getting an amp bias right is really important, because you can, if your amp's biased too hot, you can go through valves like that. If it's too cold, you might not get the sound you want. So you've got to get the bias just right. You've got to know what you want at your amp to get the bias right as well. I always have my valve amps. I had an 800 and the small box. The small box I always have biased really cold, because I like to be able to kind of like have it. With biasing it really cold, not only did it have the valves last longer, but it gave me more clean kind of room on the amp, if you will, because the amp wouldn't break up until you got it to about 7 or 8, and you could never get to that volume level. So having the valves really biased really cold, it really gave the amp a lot more reliability, and it didn't give it any more consistency, sadly, but which is kind of what I wanted, but it didn't give me that. But it gave it a lot more reliability. The valves would last longer, but the thing was, the only thing was, if you cranked it to get distortion, you had to have the amp about 8 or 7 for it to start to break up. And then when you finally got it to 10, it was very minimal breakup. There wasn't a great deal of breakup. I had it biased really cold because all I used that amp for was just like a platform for my pedals, and I did everything from my pedal board. So yeah, so bias is really important. But yeah, how often do you get change valves? You want to get it serviced every year. You know, you want to get it pat tested and serviced and gone over every year, that your amp. Just to make sure it's running okay, make sure everything's okay in it, nothing's going weak, no components are lagging, or something's not quite right with it. And then valves, if the amp starts to change sound, I would get them checked. And if you've got any doubts, get them checked. At the moment, like, that shadow of doubt appears in your head about, like, you know, something doesn't feel right with my valve amp or amp in general, you want to get it checked because you don't know where it could lead. I didn't do that, and as a result it cost me very dearly to get my small box totally revalved, rebiased, retested, new fuse, new preamps, new power amp valves, you know, all that stuff. It cost me quite a lot of money to get that thing running, and that was when I realised how much it cost me to get it running. I was like, you know, I can't afford to keep this thing up, you know, even just the revalve was a lot of money. So yeah, I would go to a tech, get the valves tested, see, and if only a week, I would just go for a revalve on it, just to give it, like, you know, a new lease on life, so to say. Because once your valves get weak, it can start to make the tone of the amp suffer. You know, it might sound okay, but sometimes the problem with valve amps is they normally sound absolutely amazing right before they die. I've experienced this quite a few times, especially with old Marshalls. I remember there was an old Marshall 100-watt PA head in Old Hat, and it sounded, it was a plexi panel one from the late 60s, and it was absolutely amazing. It sounded amazing, and we were playing through it one day on 10, because that was the only level we were allowed to play at, which was awesome. And we were playing through it on 10, and it went and popped, and that was it. And when it got revalved and came back, it sounded nothing. It didn't sound anywhere near as good. But it still sounded great, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as that. But, you know, such is life. But yeah, so that's what I would do. I'd go and get the amp tested, get the valves tested, get it checked over, make sure everything's okay, and make sure it's running okay. So that's what I would do. But again, this is only my little opinion for what that's worth. So anyway, I hope that's a question. And we're on to question 3 now. Question 3 is, where do all your amps wander off to? In some videos they're surrounding you, and in others they seem to have disappeared. And what do you use your small amps for? Okay, so for a while, there's a room off to my right side, your left. For a while, that room, well, it's my sister's room, and it was vacant for a while. So I was storing amps in there, just to get them out of the way, to give me a bit more space, because the room I'm actually in isn't very, very big. But recently my sister's moved back in with me, with us, into this house, and they needed more space, so I had to get all my amps back out of the room. So that's when they reappeared all in here. So for a while, when they weren't in here, I was storing them in there, because I got kind of tired of tripping over them all the time. And oddly enough, I'm going to have a huge clear out soon. I'm going to sell some guitars off and sell some amps off, and try and sell some pedals off as well, just because sadly I need the money. Isn't that always the way? I don't want to have to sell anything, personally. Like, I'm pretty sure we've all been there at some point where it's like, you don't want to sell anything, but you have to, and you don't have a choice, because, you know, you need the money. Isn't life grand when it's like that? So, yeah, sadly, I'm going to have to do a big kind of, like, cull of gear soon. So, I'm going to have to sell some stuff off. But yeah, for a while, they were in that room there. But I'll say, when my sister moved back in, I had to move the stuff out, and then it just kind of all ended up back in here again. So that's why there's like cabs and amps everywhere now. But I like it. I do like it. I had enough time away from it, so when it came back, I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like this. So yeah, I'm happy with it. At some point, I mean, I'll fluctuate. I like sometimes I like loads of amps, sometimes I like a few, and this, that, and the other. So they're just going to go into storage more than anything, so to say. It's, you know, so every now and again, they'll reappear or disappear. But and there's also like some people say, I don't see the Boss Katanas a lot, and the Boss Katanas are downstairs. They're my kind of like living room plug in and play amp, because I don't really feel the need sometimes to play with a pedal board, and the Katana's like the perfect amp for that, because especially the 100. I use the 50 every now and again now, but the 100's kind of taking its place. Just because it's got the 4 presets, so I can kind of like cycle between them and get everything I want without pedals. So the Katanas are downstairs. I don't really use them for videos. They're more kind of like live messing around amps. I used it for the live stream the other night, the 100. But they're my kind of like, you know, they're my amps for kind of like, they're kind of my downstairs amps, so to say. I get to play on and just mess around with, so to say. And then I've got my bigger amps up here, because I don't gig my big amps anymore. I barely gig anymore because I can't get gigs, which is heartbreaking. So yeah, which it really bums me out, to be honest with you, but I can't get as many gigs as I like. I used to be able to gig like pretty much every weekend. Now I'm lucky if I get 1 gig a month, and in all fairness, I'm lucky if I get 1 gig in every 2 or 3 months. So it's getting harder for me to find gigs and be, you know, to play live more than anything, right? Which is a bit naff. But yeah, that's where all my amps go. We're all back at this point in time. Like I say, I'm going to have to have a bit of a call soon because I'm running out of dough, which is not good. With one thing or another, paying for life gets in the way. But anyway, but yeah, so yeah, and what do I use my small amps for? Well, mainly my small amps are for recording more than anything. I've got like a little Tysco Audition amp over there that I used every now and again for recording. It's got a really cool kind of like, you know, crunchy little thin tone to it. It's really, really cool. Stuff like my PV Rage being my first ever amp is just, again, for just bits and pieces here. In all fairness, when I'm... Small amps don't get a great deal of a look in. Stuff like my Katanas and stuff like that, I obviously use them live. My 100 watt and my 50 watt are my main gigging amps. Although I do have a gig... Excuse me. I do have a gig the 28th of this month. I've got a gig on the 28th of September locally. And I'm either going to use my CR120 or my Flexi. I don't know which one yet, but I'm going to use a bigger amp. I'm not going to use the Katanas for that. Main reason is because it's a trio gig, and I want to, you know, I've got to get over a drum kit, so I need to be louder and bigger because we're a 3-piece. So I need a 412 or a 212 cab. The Katanas will do it fine, but I just have a massive urge to either use like, you know, my Orange or a Marshall, you know, just a big amp for that gig. So we'll see. I don't know. I can't unfortunately film the gig because all we're going to do is covers and it'll get flagged for copyright, which is a bit naff. But I wish I could do a gig vlog for that, but I can't sadly, which is a bit naff. Anyway. But yeah, small amps normally get used for just like certain tones when recording more than anything. I don't really have many small amps. A lot of my amps are kind of big. My acoustic amp over there, I've got a Marshall acoustic amp. I use that if I go out and play acoustic, which is very rare, but I use it on occasion. But yeah, I mean, I only have like 2 really small amps, which is my PV Rage and my Tysco Audition. Obviously, I have the 2 oranges, but they're going to have to go soon because I can't afford to keep them. Once I get the videos done with the 2 orange 35s, they're going to have to go. Yeah, so yeah, that's what the small amps get used for, and that's where the amps went, but they're all back in here now, and it's chaos, and it's awesome, and I love it. Sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming, like, but it's all good fun. Okay, so yeah, I hope that's the question. Moving on to question 4 now. Question 4 is, what 3 to 4 pedals would you recommend to a John Frusciante fan? Okay, this is fairly simple. For John Frusciante, I'd recommend 4 pedals. DS2 being the most important, the Boss DS2. You want a wah-wah pedal. It would be good if you can get the Ibanez WH10 reissue. If not, you want to go for something like a Vox Silvertop wah. Something like that. So, DS2, a wah pedal, preferably an Ibanez, but if not, go for something like a Vox Silvertop.
a delay pedal, and a chorus pedal. Those four: chorus, delay, wah, and distortion. They would be the ones I'd recommend. You could sacrifice the delay pedal for something like a Marshall Jackhammer or a Tone City Golden Plexi for that to get you kind of clean tone. I wouldn't recommend a compressor. I wouldn't recommend anything other than those. They're the kind of like the key John kind of pedals, if you will. So yeah, on one hand you could have a chorus, an overdrive pedal for the clean tone, a wah, and a distortion, or you could have a distortion, a wah, a delay, and a chorus. They'd be the ones I'd recommend. And any kind of chorus will do. Any digital delay. Make sure it's a digital delay. You don't want analog delay for John. Digital delay. And Boss DS2 is most important. Ibanez wah is important as well, but not as important as the DS2. But yeah, they would be the ones I'd recommend. Okay, so I hope that's a question. Moving on to question 5 now. Question 5. Any possibility of Skype lessons? Yes, in the future, when I get around to it. When I kind of get around to organising it and actually getting my brain around it. Yes, definitely. Okay, so you also asked any advice about getting a John Frusciante tone out of the CR20 RT. When I get around to demoing the CR35, I'll talk about that in that video, because the CR35 and the CR20 are not a million miles off each other, so I'll talk about it in that video when I get around to demoing the CR35, because I will demo the LDX before I put it up for sale. Okay, so that's that. You also asked what would be a good pedal for 90s alternative rock, like a really good rhythm kind of pedal, rhythm distortion pedal, and where would you put that in the pedal order? Okay, I would recommend the Marshall Governor 2 Plus personally, because it's just a beefy pedal and it's just awesome rhythm guitar pedal. So I would recommend the Marshall Governor 2 Plus, and I would have it. If I was to run it in rhythm, I mean, I would have it like coming from the amp. I'd go amp into stuff like delays and modulations, like chorus and whatnot, and then I'd have a governor, and then I'd go into any more distortions. Like, you know, you said you got a DS2, so I'd go for DS2. So from amp into a modulations, delay, chorus, whatever, and then into the governor, then into a wah pedal, then into DS2, and then to your guitar. That's where I would run it. I just find it works better that way. The governor likes to be kind of like mid kind of like mid chain, if you know what I mean. I hope that's that bit. What else you asked? You also asked. I can't read my writing. When I turn on my EP Exotic Booster for solos, it takes away the distortion. Any advice on how I can keep a distorted tone? I find that really weird that would take away distortion. It depends on where you've got it in the kind of like in the chain. Because what I would do with a booster pedal, if I was running a booster pedal, is I'd have it kind of like first pedal in line from the amp. So it'd go amp, booster, and then distortion. Well, actually I'd go amp, booster, modulation pedals, delays, distortions, you know, stuff like that. So it depends where you got it running in the chain. But I find it really strange that it's taking away distortion. Maybe I don't know. It could be the way you got the pedals set. I don't actually know. I've never actually tried the Exotic Booster, so I don't. It's a bit out of my depth here. People of a tube, I put this question to you. If anybody's got an EP Exotic Booster, has anybody else experienced this, like it taking away distortion and making the sound cleaner? Because this almost sounds like it's like a compressor. So you can kind of do that with compressors. If you kind of like run a compressor in a certain way, you can clean the amp up by turning it on. So people with a tube, let us know in the comment section below if anybody's had an experience with like an Exotic Booster taking away some of the distortion and that kind of thing. So yeah, let us know in the comment section below, because I find that really weird that he would do that. But again, not having any experience with the Exotic Booster, I can't really say. So yeah, I'm going to call out to help from people of a tube. Help us, people of a tube. Let us know if anybody's experienced this, and how did you get around it, if so. Like I say, it could be where you're running it in the effects chain. It could be kind of stuff like that. I think I'd probably, if I was after like a boost like that, I'd probably run it in the effects loop. Maybe. I don't know. People with a tube, let us know in the comment section below. Okay, so yeah, hope that's answered your question. Gonna move on to final question, everybody. Question 6. Final question today, question 6. And they said question 5 again. Okay, so question 6 has 4 questions. Okay, so question 6 is, what's your favourite gift you've been given? All of them. I've loved everything I've been gifted. I have really, really loved and really enjoyed, and I'm really, really kind of like, you know, chuffed to bits with it. I mean, everything I've been given, I've just thought it's really, really cool. It really is cool. I never. I don't know, it's strange to be given things because I've always been of that kind of like. I've always been in a situation whereas if you want something, you've got to save and you've got to work for it and you've got to buy it. So anything that comes my way that's given to me, like I value very highly. You know what I mean? It really, you know, I really appreciate that kind of thing. It really, you know, like stuff like, you know, getting sent like the pugilist pedal and stuff like that, and other pedals I've been sent to stuff, and the stuff I get lent to demo. You know, I'm just very grateful for it all. You know, there's not one thing I can point that I'm just like, you know, that's my favourite kind of like thing I've been given because I'm just so happy to be like, you know, to be in the situation I am. I'm so grateful to be in the situation I am that, you know, it would feel really wrong for me to kind of like favour one thing over another because I'm just really grateful for everything. You know what I mean? Because it really does mean everything to me to be in this situation. It really is. It's amazing to me. It really is amazing to me. So I'm appreciative of everything I kind of get given. So there's not just one favourite thing. It's multiple things. So you know, I've got so much stuff that I'm grateful for. So much stuff that I'm grateful for. So yeah. Sorry, it wasn't a great answer, but hopefully it was an answer. You also asked, would you ever do another collaboration video? Yeah, but it would have to be kind of for the right thing. I don't know what I would. I don't know what it would be for, but I would do more. I would do another collaboration video, but again, at this point, I'm not kind of looking in that direction. At this point in time, I've got a lot I kind of want to do, and I'm not really looking in that direction at this point in time. But I would, if kind of like, you know, in the future kind of thing. If that makes any sense, that probably don't make any sense whatsoever. But yeah, definitely at some point in the future, I'd be up for more collaborations. I'd like to do more collaborations with Philippa Q as well, because we were going to do Can't Stop by the Chili Peppers, but with the new copyright thing, I daren't do it. She actually did it on her channel, playing and singing it, which is really, really cool. And I advise you go, if you want to go and check it out, I would really recommend going and checking it out. It's really, really cool. But I just daren't do the copyright thing anymore. But I'd like to do some more collaborations with her. I'd like to do more collaborations with a few other people, but it's just having the time to do it, kind of thing. So at some point, yeah, definitely. You also said, how am I doing lately? I might leave that till the end. So another question you asked was opinions on Tech 21 pedals. I've never tried them. I've never tried Tech 21 pedals. I've tried a Tech 21 amp, and they were really cool. But I've never tried a Tech 21 pedal. But I hear good things about them, but having not personally experienced it, I couldn't honestly say. So yeah, I don't really want to kind of go into that too much because I'd just be kind of guessing. And I've seen videos on them, I've seen demos of them. I've never heard one personally. I've never seen somebody use one like in front of my eyes kind of thing. But I have heard good things about them, and I have heard some good demos on them and stuff like that. But I've never tried one personally, so I don't really want to kind of say 100% like what my opinion is until I've tried something like that. Cause it'd just be disingenuous, I think. It won't be honest enough. I'd rather be honest and say I've got no opinion on it at this point in time because I haven't tried one. Like I said, the opinion I do have is based on what I've heard, but not personal experience. So it's not really worth anything. But I would like to try some Tech 21 stuff out at some point. Their amps are really cool. I remember my friend Matt. He used to have a Tech 21 combo, and that sounded absolutely amazing. That sounded really cool. And so your last question, which was technically your third question, but I'm going to put it to the last one just in case I ramble, was how are you doing lately? I don't know how you mean if mentally or like in general. Recently, okay, let's be brutally honest here. So recently I've been okay. I can't say it's been great. but it's okay. I've recently started another thing of therapy again. I've recently found out that I have I don't have an anxiety disorder. I have a panic disorder, which is, as I found out, slightly worse than anxiety, really. But I have a panic disorder where it's not as much anxiety than it is just full blown freak out panic, and I have a mild form of PTSD, which is a bit of an eye opener when you get told you have that. I don't have it really, really bad, but I have a very mild kind of like form of it. And that leads to my panic disorder. It kind of comes from that. Comes from kind of all the bad things that I've kind of gone through in my life that I went through when I was at school and whatnot, has kind of like led me to here. And like I said, I've recently started in therapy sessions again to try and get some sense of not normality, but kind of like to understand how to deal with it. You know, to get my head to a point where I kind of can cope, because it started to get on top of me. Because the problem with anxiety and panic and depression is it starts to take your life away from you. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Like, I used to really like going out for walks. I used to love going walking. And I still do. But one day I was out for a walk on my own, and I was about 15 minutes from home, and I had a full-blown panic attack. Full-blown. Square in the face. All of a sudden, 1 minute everything was fine. The next second, everything had just gone haywire. And I was 15 minutes from home. And this scared me enough to where I was like, I never want to be in that situation again. So I'm going to avoid it at all costs. And because of that, I stopped going out for walks. Which after a while really upset me, because I really enjoyed doing that. And also other things like, you know, like I want to do this, but I had a panic attack last time, so I'm scared of doing it because that could happen again, or that will happen again. So it starts to rob your life. Anxiety and panic and stuff like that, it starts to rob your life, and you start to get more down to that kind of like agoraphobic side of yourself, where you start to kind of fear the outside world. And that's where I was going recently, and I'm going to stop that because I'm not having that. So say recently I've recently kind of like started therapy again to kind of because it does take away your ability to live, and that ain't cool. That is not fun, and it's not cool, and it's really not enjoyable. So like I say, recently I've started that. And how am I doing in myself? I'm doing okay, but I say that's the back of my mind, and it's really annoying because it limits what I can and cannot do. But we're on steps to changing that. That's the thing. We're on the ladder to try and sort this out. And like I say, as the weeks progress, hopefully, well, we'll have to see. But like I say, it's just annoying. It just takes things away from you. Anxiety is a thief, and panic is a thief, and PTSD is a thief that steals your life from you because it makes you too scared and too afraid to do anything. And so you start doing avoidance tactics where, like, I can't do this because of this, and I can't do this because of that, and I can't do this because this happened last time. And one of the techniques that I'm going to start to have to do is putting myself into certain situations that are going to make me uncomfortable and kind of panic. And what I've got to do is stay in that situation. And that is not going to be easy. But what I've got to do is, and what I've been recommended to do is, not just at this point in time, because I've still got a few more sessions before I start that, but what I've got to do is I've got to put myself... So, for instance, like, if I'm scared of going for a walk, what I've got to do is, I've got to go out the house on my own, and when I start to feel panicky, I've got to stay in that situation for, say, 5 minutes, and then I can go home. And then the next time, I have to stay in that situation for 10 minutes, and then I can go home, and then 15, and then 20, and just gradually build it up to the point where my brain starts to rewire itself into going, no, I can actually deal with this. I can get this, but it's going to be a very long process, and it's not going to be a very pleasant process, and it's going to be a knackering process. And as much as I am looking forward to it, I am terrified of it all at the same time. So yeah, that's where I'm at mentally, for what that is, for what that's worth. But yeah, so but we'll see how it pans out over the next couple of weeks. Like I say, I'm not going to be stopping videos just because it's not going to get away with that. But I do have certain issues. I've seen quite a few people recently and spoke to a lot of people about this, and having PTSD has come to having like a mild form of PTSD has come to no surprise to some people. People have always said I've got that. People have always said it always sounds like I've got some kind of PTSD problem. So that comes from school. That comes from the bullying I had at school. So yay school. So yeah, that's where I am lately. And I knew I'd ramble on about this bit, so I'm glad I did this at the last bit. So I can finish now. I can go and think about something else and relax once this is out of me. So yeah, so there you go. I don't want to. I like to be honest with you all. So if somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'd like to be brutally honest about it. I don't want to be, I'm fine. I don't want to be that person. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of like saying you're fine when you're not. I used to do that. I used to hide everything because I didn't feel that anyone should care about what I feel, and I still do feel that, and it's a habit I'm trying to break out of, because I still do feel that no one cares. Dave, shut your mouth. That's what my brain tells me. So but I'm trying to break out of that and just trying to be a bit more open and honest with myself as well as other people, and it makes it more real when you talk to people about it. When you are open about it, it makes it real. If you shut yourself away or you shut it down, it kind of like isn't as real as it should be. And I always feel like, with a problem like this, you should make it real. You should make it right in your face. It's a problem and it needs to be sorted, and it's not going to be sorted if you don't make it real. If you just kind of keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, it's never going to be a real problem. So and it's never going to get fixed, and stuff like this needs to be fixed. You need to find a way to fix it. So yeah. So for what that's worth, that's where we are right now. Like I say, I've got like some more therapy sessions coming up. I have them pretty much every Thursday. So and like I say, then I'm gonna have to, soon, within the next week or so, I'm gonna have to start doing this, kind of pushing myself into certain situations where I'm not comfortable and having to stay there until all is well again. You know what I mean? They normally say if your panic is at like 100%, you have to stay till it drops to like 60, and then you can kind of get out of the situation. But you've got to take stock of the situation and realize you're okay, and you're not having a heart attack, you're not gonna pass out, which is one of my main fears, is fainting. You're not gonna pass out, you're not gonna be sick. That person isn't looking at you, that person's not gonna come and beat you up. You need to stay in that situation until your brain realizes that there is no threat, and through that you start to rewire your brain to realize that, no, actually I'm okay. I'm not comfortable, but I'm okay. And then through time of doing that, you get more used to it and you get more comfortable with it. And eventually, fingers crossed, you're never going to be cured from it, but you can just learn to be one with it instead of it kind of dominating you. You can kind of like, be a bit more relaxed and a bit more kind of like free to do what you want to do instead of it imprisoning you and taking your life away. Because I always feel with like panic and stuff like that, the more it takes away, the more you have nothing to live for, and then it takes away your proper life, if you know what I you know, it just gradually robs stuff from you, takes away everything you want to do and everything you love to do, and eventually to a point where you've got nothing. And when you've got nothing to lose, and if you've got nothing, you normally just look out for the checkout button, and that's not good. So, as much as it pains me to say it, I'm sure a lot of us have been there, and I'm sure a lot of us, you know, will be there at some point in life, sadly, and that's not cool and not nice. But you know, it is what it is. You know, we're humans, we're flawed. You know, no one's perfect, and we are flawed by design. So, but yeah, so that's where we are right now. Like personally and physically, and I'd like to be perfectly honest with you all, because you know, a lot of you out there have the same kind of thing every day with me, where it's, you know, you constantly fight the, you know, panicking and stuff like that. It's took me a long time to be able to say panic as well. Like, I couldn't say it because saying it made it too real, and that would make me freak out. And saying fainting used to scare me as well. But now I can say it quite comfortably, and that's progress to me. That's really cool, and I'm really grateful and really happy I've kind of got to that point where I can talk about panic, and I can say the word, and I can talk about my fear of fainting and stuff like that, and be okay with it. Saying the words doesn't make it, like, you know, saying it isn't going to make it happen. You know what I mean? I realise now that saying the word faint or saying the word panic isn't going to make me immediately freak out or anything like that. You know, I'm okay. You know what I mean? It's nice to know I can say that, because it makes me, gives me the ability to communicate more clearly and freely with what I want to say. So it's really cool. So yeah, that's how I'm doing lately. I'm okay, but it's going to get hard. Soon it's going to get really difficult, and I'm as much as like I'm excited to do it and really kind of go at it, and I've got loads of support to do it, which is really, really cool. Like Joe supporting me, my sister's here, my mum's here supporting me, and my family are kind of supporting me, and you know, I've got no end of support from you out there, which is just beyond for me. I'm so grateful for it. You know, hopefully I'll kick it into touch, so to say, and get back to kind of like leading a life where I can be comfortable doing certain things and get my ability to go out for walks again. Because I used to like going for walks because it cleared my head, and when I couldn't do that, my head would get a bit more addled, and I couldn't go for a walk. Luckily, I can drive, and going for a drive kind of does the same kind of deal, but and because it gives me the ability to kind of get somewhere quicker than walking. That, you know, if I'm half an hour away from home with a drive, it'll get quicker. You know, if I'm half an hour walk away from home, it takes a longer time. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah. So that's where I am, you know, right now. But like I say, I'm excited for it, but I am terrified all at the same time. It's a real, like, crazy wave of emotions I'm going through right now. But like, you know, we'll see, and we'll see. We'll see where we get to. So it's going to be a very, very hard uphill battle that sometimes I'm going to lose, sadly. As much as that pains me to say it, I am going to lose sometimes to it, but that's okay. But yeah, so I've recently developed a few other fears as well with one thing or another. So it's not fun, and it does take stuff away from me, and I'm not willing to let it do that. When it starts to take stuff away from me, it's time I need to start changing it. I can't stick to it. I can't have that in my life. I need to be able to do things that I want to do. I'm not going to have my panic disorder dictate what I can and cannot do. I'm not having that. So when I get to that point, it's like, right, I've got to change. I've got to do a change here. I've got to do something drastic and change it, because otherwise I know where it'll lead me, and I'm not having that. So yeah, that's where we're on anyway. Anyway, I'm going to stop yammering on now, and anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. I hope it's been informative. I hope I answered your questions okay. Yeah, and I will see you again. If you want to submit a question for Q&A, everybody, description box below, there's an email link if you want to email me. Otherwise, you can go to my website. You can register yourself on the forums on my website, and there's an Ask Dave section. And what I do each week is I take 3 questions from my website and 3 questions from my email. So I kind of like go that way. I kind of like, you know, do 3 questions from email, 3 questions from website, and do that. So yeah, if you want to submit a question, description box below. Also in the description box below is a link to my Instagram, my Facebook, and also my Bandcamp, where you can find a lot of my music and bits and pieces on there as well. So yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this Q&A, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this vid, and I'll see you again on Friday for the Orange amp shootout between 3 30-watt oranges. So we got the Orange Crush 30 in its original form. Then we got version 2 and we got version 3. So yeah, we're gonna do a comparison video between all 3 on Friday and see which one I prefer. And as usual, I want to know which one you prefer and why as well. But I said we'll get to that on Friday. My eyes are currently set on the LDX. I really like the version 2, but we'll see on Friday when we do it. So I'm gonna do like a clean and a distortion sound, and then we'll see. And also, I'm going to use room mics as well. I'm not going to use the 57. I'm just going to set up the zoom in front of the amp, doing the room mics, and just, you know, let you hear it in the room instead of like close up. So I'm going to let you hear it in the room. I'm going to try something different. So we won't be using the 57 for anything other than the intro jam. They'll be using the XY mic on top of the Zoom Q8 for the video, just to see, you know, which one you prefer in the room. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of key. If it sounds good in the room, it'll sound good mic'd up, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to try something different with this comparison. So basically, it'll just be kind of like put the Q8 in front of Orange 1, then put it in front of Orange 2 and Orange 3. Anyway, more on that on Friday. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, everybody. Have a great day today, and I will see you, or morning or afternoon or good evening. And I'll see you again on Friday. Have a great one. See you later. Goodbye now.